Hey, what's up? What's up? So today we're gonna uh, go over making a template in FL Studio. We're gonna keep it basic. So today is really just a production template. So I'm not gonna go too in too in detail when it comes to the mixer or setting up the template in the mixer, because this is based off of my workflow, right? So when I'm making beats, it's really free form. It's just gonna save me 5 to 10 minutes when it comes to loading up the VSTs. And so that's why you'd want to make templates and make multiple templates, right? Depending on your workflow, it might be beneficial to make multiple templates. If you're mixing, you might have a mixing template. If you're recording, you might have a recording template. If you're doing something where you're producing a whole song and you know you're going to be recording and you know programming instruments and doing your premix, you might want to have a more detailed production template, where you set up maybe the arranger and set up the mixer a bit with the buses and the sends. For me though, for my workflow, again, the way I like to go into FL Studio is kind of like just letting that session kind of dictate where I go, right? Depending on how the chords sound, how the melody sounds. I might not bust things the same. I might not use the same sends, use the same uh, instrument. Well, instruments or effects. But because I only have a select few instruments that I like, VST instruments that I like, that's why I want to set up a template where I don't have to keep reloading those instruments. Especially if you have a slower computer or less RAM to work with, you really want to optimize that the best you can. And for me, it's setting up a template. So I thought I'd take you guys along with me. As you can see, we have FL Studio open. We're gonna go ahead here and look through it. As you can see, it's an empty template, so there should be nothing in the mixer, nothing but the sampler and the channel rack, and nothing in the arranger, right? So we're starting from scratch. So I'm gonna click here on the channel rack. It was just open, but let's click it now. So we have a sampler open. So that's something FL Studio does irregardless. We just open the VST here on the master channel. I'm gonna get rid of that because I'm not gonna need that. But since we are here working on the template, if I were to put something on the mixer in this template, it'd probably be three things, right? So not in a particular order, but I definitely have some kind of clipper, right? So for that, I just go with soft clipper, the renowned fruity soft clipper. Probably put a EQ, right? And the EQ is really just to push gain. So all of this is really to control the gain of the instrumental, the composition, right? So it's not specifically to address a certain band or a certain instrument or a certain range in the EQ so much as just whether I need to lower the volume of the complete mix or raise the volume of the complete mix. And then if I want saturation, that's when I'll, push it into the clipper, the soft clipper. And that's why I have that at the last insert. So with the EQ, we'll just keep that simple also, right? We'll use the parametric EQ. And then just as a redundancy, we'll do a gain utility here, which is fruity balance, which gives me a few more dB that I can push into the soft clipper if I wanted to, right? or if I wanted to pull it back a bit, I could do that as well. So as you can see here with the Fruity Parametric EQ 2, we have this here, this band here, which is basically uh, allowing you to level the band completely in unison, right? Whether you want to lower it or raise it. So we'll reset that. So would really be the three things as of right now. What I could think of that I would put on the mixer, and specifically on the master bus. Now, usually I do have another bus here, which I call the pre-master, or sometimes, not sometimes, most times I have an instrument bus, a drum bus, a bass bus. But again, for this, for the production, beginning phases of the production, I'm not going to do that here. We're just going to have everything going in to the master channel. And then this template will probably be when I'm making beats. If I want to crank out beats real quick, to where I'm not really going to do a meticulous, I'm not really going to go in depth on the mix. I just want everything to sound loud, be in their pocket, because things are going to come into their individual tracks anyways. Each VST is going to have their individual tracks, so if I do a pre-mix and mix down, I'll just mix it. I'll just mix the individual tracks and then have them all routed into the or out from those tracks to the master channel. So here we go. This is the most important part of this template for me, is the instruments. So here's why I do this. Here's why you would probably want to do this yourself. Again, is to save time. All these templates, regardless of whether you're making one for mixing, you're making one for mastering, you're making one for recording, all of this is to save you time, especially when you start working with clients. They don't want to sit there, they have an hour session with you if you're recording them, right? They don't want to sit there and wait for you to load plugins, right? 10, 15 minutes of their hour to load plugins. Now they only have 45 minutes left, right? That's you gotta think ahead with those kind of things. So, show you an example. We'll load up battery for this laptop, a lot better than my old laptop. But even with this laptop, since I'm restricted to 16 gigabytes of RAM, and I can't add more RAM in this laptop. I'm stuck with 16. So if I want more RAM, I'd have to update the whole laptop or use one of my hard drive slots and turn that hard drive into a RAM slot, which this is PCIe, right? You know, yeah, it is a PCIe card, so it is better than a normal solid state or a normal fast plate drive, but it's still not as fast as a RAM, right? The RAM goes directly into the motherboard, directly into it's directly accessible, right? And with the hard drive, uh, there's just a lag in between. There's things that uh, I don't know the exact steps, but from what I looked up, it doesn't get as fast as RAM does. But I do have 3 hard drive slots in this laptop to where I could use one as a RAM slot just until I got a new laptop, or so on and so forth. So as you can see, and it could be because I'm not connected to the internet right now, so I'm gonna, okay, there it is. So as you can see, that took like 30 seconds to open one plugin. Now imagine you want to open 10 plugins, that's already 5 minutes, right? That's 5 minutes that you've taken just to load those 10 VSTs, right? So that's why we do it. Now, I'm not going to sit here for 10 minutes and open up those VSTs because I have already saved a production template. So I'm going to open that up for you guys because this is supposed to be a short video, right? Just to show you guys how you would do it. So I'm going to open up the template and then I'll explain what I did. So as you saw when I opened up the channel rack in FL Studio, we press that plus icon at the bottom of the channel rack to open up the list, and then you choose from that list what VST you wanna, you wanna put in the channel rack. We chose battery, right? So you continue doing that, right? Opening up all the VSTs you know that you'll use on a regular basis. A tip that I'd give you guys is just open up all the VSTs, right? Not but open up the VSTs you might not use a lot now, but that you feel that, okay, if you were searching for sounds, you could, for instance, there's the Flex. Fruity Loops has this Flex VST, pretty decent sounds in Flex, right? But what tends to happen is we buy VSTs, right? So I have Contact, I just bought Complete 15, I just got, I have Analog, I've had Analog Labs for a while, I have Pigments. So you have all these VSTs that in your mind, because you spent money on, you think are better, right? So you tend to gravitate towards those more. But there may come a time where, those sounds you've already overused them, right? They're not exactly what you're looking for, so you want to go into another VST like Flex, like Expand 2, right? And then now you got to load it up. And for me, since you're making the template anyways, why not just put it in there? Isotope has a sampler or synthesizer called Iris, right? And me, when I was scrolling through the sounds, I didn't really like it. Me personally, it wasn't really for me, but it's something that I did get. I got it with a purchase. It was free at the time, and in this template, I have it loaded up, right? So let me see. Yep, right there. Isotope Iris 2. I have it loaded up because there may come a time where, hey, I want to use it. It's saying I still need to authorize it, but that's just because I went from an old laptop to this new laptop, and I had to basically, the hassle of having to reauthorize all your plugins, going to iLock, and I had to basically have iLock remove all my codes from the old user. So I had basically each VST, sometimes they let you have the VST on 2 or 3 desktops. And most of my VSTs were already on 2 desktops because I had switched flash drives like twice, 3 times. So I had to clone the drive. And even though you clone the drive, it's still a different username. iLock recognizes it as a whole different username. So now it's saving those VSTs on a whole nother desktop, even though it's the same laptop. So that's kind of shitty. I kind of put it off for weeks before doing it, but eventually I was like, nah. I figured out that you can send iLock a message and have them just uh, delete all your VSTs off your old drives, so that you have uh, basically free space to you know install it in another desktop, another username. The only company that doesn't do that is Waves. So my gold bundle, I had to actually log in to waves.com on that laptop to be able to delete those licenses off that username. So thankfully, I still have the old laptop, so I was able to do that. So, um, but yeah, as you see, I have it open. I have Iris open, even though I don't, like I said, I don't really use it, but I have it here, right? Because FPC, something I don't really use, but if I want to do a drum break, you know, I could do it in the FPC, right? Uh, what else? Sublab. I usually don't use Sublab for my subs. I usually just drag in a sample, a respace, you know what I mean? Those samples that are widely used, but nonetheless, I have sublabs in there Flex, again, we talked about Flex. I have it in there because each beat, it shouldn't be I don't believe in cookie cutter beats, right? Each beat should be an experience to where, you're really going with the flow and you're letting that session kind of dictate, that mood dictate, okay, what's gonna be the end result. And a lot of times I find that when I start a beat, right, and I'm having a hard time continuing, like I stop the beat, come back 10 days later, I hear it and a spark, there's a light bulb. And then the beat completely changes, right? You throw halftime on it, you pitch it up, down, you slow it down, and now it's a whole nother beat from that beat you started 10 days ago. So, in those instances, if you are a beginner at this, don't get discouraged, right? Just stop, start another beat, go do something else, come back to that beat a few hours later, maybe even a few minutes later. Me, like I said, it's usually a few days later. I'll come back to the beat. So yeah, let's look at this template, right? So we have the FPC, battery 4, isotope iris, contact 8, scalar, love scalar. I love this plugin. Um, lounge sessions, strum sessions, analog lab, arcade. Basically loaded up all the heavy hitters that I know that I'll use on a regular basis. So scalar 2, contact, arcade, analog, and pigments, and UAD, the Polymax. Those and expand 2 are those are VSTs that I use kind of on a regular basis. So I definitely wanted them on there. And you see that when I loaded up this template, it took it took 30 seconds to load up this whole template with all the VSTs already ready to go, compared to loading up an empty project and having to load each VST separately, which would take 30 seconds each. Now, mind you, even if you have a super fast computer, I'd still make a template. Because even if it only takes you 2 seconds to load up each instrument, that's still 2 times however many instruments you're loading up, compared to just 1 second of loading up the whole project with all the VSTs ready to go. Feel me? So you're still saving time, right? So this template has instruments in it. So basically, when you save a template, right, you could either save it by just saving it as, which is what I did. I just saved my template as a FLP project, right? So when I go into projects, it'll always be here, production template, Lou, right? Now, the reason I did it this way is because if I do start something here, all I'm gonna do is go back here and then save as again, and then change the title, right? And then it's gonna open up a whole new project folder for me and have that FLP file saved in that project folder. So for me, I just think that's just a simpler way, right? There's also um, a way to save it directly as um, I'm just going through these. I had so many more projects, but my old my old hard drive crashed on me, and it was of course an SSD, external SSD drive, fucking crashed on me. Lost all like 900 gigabytes worth of data just gone just like that. So, moral of the story: have redundancies. Definitely have multiple flash drives with the same data on it. So, um, it's kind of what I like about this laptop is there are three slots available for PCIe cards. So I'm just gonna stock up on 2 terabyte cards. Right now I have a 1 terabyte and a 500 gigabyte card in here, but I want to have all three of them be 2 terabytes. then the other two I'll just save as redundancies. And then one of the three of the 2 terabytes will be used as a flash drive until I get a new laptop where I can uh, put in RAM, put in more RAM because I really want a 64 gigabyte RAM system. So the system right now, the CPU is cool. It's i7 uh, M15R3 Dell. So motherboard, CPU, graphics card are decent, you know, mid-range, but it's only 16 gigabytes of RAM, and I can't upgrade the RAM. If I could upgrade the RAM to 64 or 100, 120 gigs of RAM, that would be dope, because then that would make this computer a lot faster than it is. Hopefully the hard drive is able to boost it up at least 10%. That'd be cool. But yeah, I'm trying to keep this video short. So again, all we did was, again, press this plus button, loaded up all the VSTs that we think we need, right? And for now, these are the ones that I think I'd be using a majority of the time. Now, if I feel like, okay, I'm going to be using another one, or if I feel like, okay, I just bought a new VST, like if I get Omnisphere, then clearly I'm going to add Omnisphere into this. So all I do is load this template up, add Omnisphere, right? There's multiple ways, like this is FL Studio, so there's redundancies on how you can do things. So you can add it here, you can go up here to add it this way, you can click your mouse wheel and load up this view and click it from here, or you can go here to your plugin picker, the icon up here that looks like a insert on a wall. I forgot what those are called. Click that, load up all your plugins and type it in and load it up that way. So that's the cool thing about FL Studios is the redundancies. Once you have everything loaded, right, and okay, this is how I want my template. Of course, you can make it more in depth. You can go here, start putting markers if you wanted, right, and saying, okay, these 8 measures, 8 bars, I'm gonna make that verse 1. These I'm gonna make verse 2 or the chorus. These I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, right? I'm not doing that for this because each song to me is different. So who's to say that I'm gonna have the intro first? Who's to say I'm not gonna have the chorus first or the verse first, right? Who's to say the whole song isn't just gonna be straight rap, no chorus, right? So that's why I don't like cookie cutter templates like that when it comes to the arranger, right? Same thing with, sure, I can make track 1, I can make that my actual tracking, to where I assign it to a mixer insert, right? Load up the microphone and say, okay, track 1 is what I'm going to record on. All the vocals are coming through there, and then go on the mixer, whichever one I linked it to, set up my vocal bus, or do a send out to where that's probably how I would do it, is record clean coming through the insert and then send it out to another track and have that have all my effects on. So my whole vocal chain on that, to where I have both the clean and the affected, and then I can be more precise with the vocals that way. But again, we're gonna look at this. This is a bit different. I have MLS bus at the bottom before the soft clipper, and then Fruity Balance, and then I'm still gonna have parametric EQ too, just as a redundancy, because the Fruity Balance only lets you add 5 dB of gain, 5.6. So let's say 6 dB of gain, right? You might want to have more than that, so that's where the parametric EQ comes in. You can crank it up a bit more. So now, after we have our template like we want it, we go up to File, And again, I just save it as. Now this is already saved, so I'm just going to click save, and it's going to save these new additions, parametric EQ2, under the production template Lou. So it's ready to go for me. Now each time I open this template, it's ready to go. Sure, the BPM is 62, so I can change that. Sure, I have these in there, right? Because I did start a project with this, but that's no biggie, right? You just right click, cut, or delete. Well, I wouldn't delete it because that would delete the VST. So you just cut it, right? Or you go in the piano roll, Control A, and delete, right? Um, and then you do that for each, and then you just start your project from there. Now, of course, to make this cleaner, we'll show you what I mean. So I started this project. Now I'm gonna save as again. I think I already saved this though. I think it's under Neat 1, but I'm gonna save it again, Neat 2, just to be safe, right? And I'm gonna cut all this. I'm gonna cut all this. I'll take massive off of track 1, and now I'm gonna save it again. Oops, not save as, but I'm gonna save it again. And now we have our production template ready to go, right? Basically, you have a simple template that you can get beats started. As soon as I load this up, watch, which we just loaded it up, but we're gonna load it up again. It's over here, right? Well, let me show you the other way to save it. So if you want to save it as a template to where it's going to save here under your template folder, you just go here, save as a template, right? And then you name it Lou Production, right? Press enter, boom. Now it's saved as a template here to where you go into here and you load it here. Or even when you open, so we're going to close this because I already saved it. We're going to close it, reopen it. When you open FL Studio, usually on the right side, it's going to have these for you, right? Well, it doesn't have your, so it only has the templates that FL has. So, it's okay though. Start a new empty project. So that's kind of why I like to save it as a FLP, because each FLP you work on, each project you work on, FL Studio is going to automatically save it in this recent projects column here for you, right? So I know, okay, loop production, I can open that. That's just an empty project with all my VSTs on it. Nothing really on the mixer, right tab, other than those 4 VSTs that I'm just going to use for gain staging or to, up the volume a bit, maybe add saturation with the NLS and with the soft clipper, right? Simple stuff though, right? I'm not trying to go through all my distortion plugins, the black box. Like, I'm not picking the best sounding distortion, of course that's subjective. Best sounding in the sense of, oh, I spent money on it, so I should just add it on my master bus. Nah, really the goal is just to add volume, right? The NLS is good enough. NLS is good enough, and if I want a little bit of soft clipping or, hard clipping, I could go through the soft clipper and it's good enough, right? Hopefully the beat, the melody is good. Hopefully the harmonies are good to where everything's gelling together well enough to where all you're doing is just either upping the volume or lowering the volume, right? Now another plugin I could add, is a limiter, right? And for that I could either add Ozone 11 or I can go to the Pro L. I also have TDR, the TDR clipper. I could do that as well because I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's a limiter on there as well. So those are the 3 limiters that, other than, of course, the waves limiter here. We all know about the infamous waves limiter. But that's mostly it. It's kind of a boring video, but you get the point. I'm gonna put some chapter marking so you can just skip to the part you need to see. And the next video will probably be a more long form video, and we'll actually spend some time programming and composing a beat. But next video I want to put out for you guys is the mixer, right? Going in depth on the mixer for a beginner FL Studio user. That could be a beginner engineer looking to get into FL Studio, or a intermediate engineer that's just looking to get into a new DAW, and that new DAW being FL Studio, right? So thank you. I thank you guys for spending this half hour with me, and hope you're able to learn something. And if you liked it, please leave a like, because that helps us keep these videos coming for you guys, right? Got a few things in the works for you guys, coming out with hopefully within this year, tape 2. For those that haven't heard tape 1, just go on SoundCloud and look up lou-goutier, or more wise, Moawise. 2 words though. Moa, and then wise, Wise. That was our first project a few years ago. My first mixtape, actually. Um, yeah, now we're working on tape 2, which is going to be hopefully all original, including the compositions, including the instrumentals. So tape 1 was not original beats. So with this, we want it to be all original, so we can have it up for you guys on the distribution, like SoundCloud and or Spotify and Apple Music and stuff like that. So, and I'm thinking I want to make it a special tape for you guys, something that you can uh, get some insight on, right? And not just hearing the tape when it comes out, but actually seeing what it takes to make a tape. What it makes to come out with a full body of work that's cohesive, right? That that you can run through from the first track to the last track, and it makes sense, right? That's kind of what I think musicians like about Kendrick Lamar, right? We hip, ones that like hip hop. What we like about Kendrick Lamar, it's his albums are very cohesive, right? You're following that movie from the first track to the last track. It's a like a fellow YouTuber said, it's a audio film, right? It's an audio visual. So not everyone makes their tracks like that though. It, you know, some people just put albums together, right? They just pick 5 songs, 10 songs, and then they call it an album. Sure, they get it mixed and mastered. It's loud, sounds good, but it's not necessarily uh, yeah, it's different lanes, right? It's different lanes. So, um, for this project, I do want it to be cohesive. So, anywho, let me not uh, make this video longer than it already is. Peace.